The dog was alive. I stood on my back porch with my hand over my mouth, because 5 days ago I watched my sister-in-law sign papers at the vet, and I heard her say, "It is for safety." 5 days ago, she told me my late husband's last gift to me, a gentle brown dog named Scout, had been put down. 5 days ago I cried until my eyes burned, because losing my husband was already breaking me, and then losing Scout felt like losing my husband all over again. But now Scout was in my backyard, ribs moving fast, paws dirty, digging like his life depended on it. He was digging in the new garden my sister-in-law Linda had built last month. The garden looked perfect on the outside, with fresh dark soil, neat stone edges and little solar lights that blinked softly at night. Linda said she built it to help me heal, like a kind sister would. She said it would give me something pretty to look at. Scout dug faster. His paws scraped the soil so hard the dirt flew behind him like rain. Then he stopped and whined, low and urgent, and looked back at me. I ran down the steps, my knees shaking. "Scout," I whispered, my voice cracking, "how are you here?" He didn't jump on me like he always did. He didn't spin in happy circles. He just stared at me and then shoved his nose into the hole again, like he was begging me to understand. I knelt beside him. The soil was damp and packed tight like it had been pressed down on purpose. My fingers touched something that didn't feel like dirt. It felt like plastic, smooth and cold. My heart turned to ice. I started pulling the dirt away with both hands, not caring that my nails broke, not caring that my knees hurt. Scout barked once, sharp and afraid, like he was warning me. My fingers hit a corner of a black trash bag. And in that moment I knew this wasn't a garden. This was a hiding place. I looked toward the back gate. It was shut, but the latch was scratched up, like someone had rushed through it before. Then I heard a car door slam. Linda's car. My stomach dropped. Linda was here. Scout growled, not like a friendly dog, but like a guard dog who finally recognized a threat. I froze, my hands covered in dirt, my fingers gripping the edge of the trash bag. Linda's voice floated in from the driveway, sweet like honey, sharp like a blade. "Ruth," she called, "are you out back?" I couldn't breathe, I couldn't move. Because if Linda saw me kneeling beside that hole, and if she knew Scout was alive, then what would she do to me next? And the worst question of all burned in my chest, hotter than fear. What did Linda bury in my backyard, and why did Scout risk everything to bring me here? Before my husband died, my life was simple in the best way. My name is Ruth and I am a grandma. My grandkids call me Nana Ruth. I bake cinnamon bread on Saturdays. I keep a little jar of buttons on the shelf for no reason except it makes me smile. I used to think my biggest worries were small ones, like whether the rain would ruin my tomatoes or whether my grandson would remember his homework. Then my husband, James, got sick. It wasn't loud at first. It started like tiny cracks in a wall. He got tired faster. He lost weight. He forgot little things, but his eyes stayed kind. His hands stayed warm. Even when he couldn't do much, he would still reach for my fingers like he was saying, "We are still together." One afternoon, a month before he passed, he asked me to sit with him on the couch. His voice sounded thin like paper. "Ruth," he said, "I need you to promise me something." I tried to smile, but my lips trembled. "Anything." He glanced toward the window, and I saw fear in his eyes, a fear he had been hiding. "Don't let Linda control you," he whispered. I blinked. "Linda, your sister." He squeezed my hand hard. "She is not who she pretends to be." I felt my chest tighten. Linda had been around a lot since James got sick. She brought groceries. She offered to help with bills. She acted like a hero. But James was warning me. "James," I said softly, "what do you mean?" He swallowed. "She thinks this house should be hers. She thinks I owe her everything. She keeps asking questions about my will." I frowned. "Did she say that?" James nodded once. "And Ruth, there's more. I found paperwork, missing money, weird transfers. I don't have the strength to fight it now, but you can." My heart pounded. "What kind of transfers?" He looked away, ashamed. "I trusted her with some things. She said she would help, but I think she has been taking. I think she has been lying." I wanted to ask 100 questions, but James's breathing became rough. He shut his eyes for a moment, like talking hurt him. So I did what grandmas do sometimes. I tried to make the world softer. "It's okay," I whispered. Rest, we will handle everything. But James reached into the side table and pulled out a small folder. He slid it into my lap. Keep this, he said. Hide it, don't tell her. I opened it and saw papers, names, numbers, and a note in James's shaky handwriting. If anything, HAPPNS2ME, Trust Scout. I looked up, Trust Scout. James's mouth lifted in a tiny smile. Scout sees what people don't say. That week, James surprised me with Scout. He said it was my last gift, and he said it like he had to force the words out, like he was pushing light into the dark. Scout was a rescue dog, medium size, brown fur, big eyes, a scar on his ear. He was gentle with the grandkids and calm in the house, but alert when strangers came near. From the first day, Scout followed James like a shadow. If Linda came over, Scout would sit between Linda and James, watching her hands, watching her face. He didn't bark, but he didn't relax either. Linda laughed about it. Oh, he doesn't like me, she would say, like it was a joke. But James didn't laugh. Then James passed away on a quiet Tuesday morning, while I held his hand and told him he was loved. After the funeral, Linda moved like a storm through my house. She hugged me too long. She spoke too loud. She brought people I didn't know, helpers, she called them. She told me what I needed to do. You need rest, she said. You need to let me handle things. James would want me to. She offered to organize James's documents. She offered to keep the bills in order. She offered to repair things around my home. And I was grieving, I was tired, my mind was fog. So when Linda said, Scout is dangerous, I didn't know how to fight her. She claimed Scout had growled at one of her helpers. She claimed Scout was too unpredictable. She said the dog might hurt my grandkids. I knew it wasn't true. Scout had never snapped at anyone. He was gentle and careful even when little hands pulled his ears. But Linda sounded so sure. And then she told me she had already scheduled a vet appointment. I will take him, she said. You don't need to come, it will be easier for you. But I should have said no. I should have grabbed the leash and taken Scout myself. But grief can make you soft in the wrong ways. It can make you quiet when you should be loud. So I let Linda take him. She came back later with a sad face and fake tears, holding an empty leash. It is done, she whispered. I'm sorry, Ruth, it was for safety. My world collapsed. I cried into Scout's old blanket. I begged the air for my husband. I felt like the last warm part of my life had been ripped away. Then on the 5th day, I saw Scout digging in Linda's perfect garden. And now Linda was calling my name from the driveway. Ruth, she called again closer. Are you out back? Scout's body stiffened, his ears pressed back. He looked at me like he was saying run. I didn't run. I grabbed the edge of the trash bag and pulled. The plastic tore, and a corner of something hard and flat showed through. A folder. James's folder. The one Linda had helped me look for, and then acted like she had never seen. My hands shook so badly I could barely hold it. Linda's footsteps hit the back patio. And I knew if she caught me with that folder, she would not just lie again. She would do whatever it took to keep her secrets buried. Linda appeared at the back door like she owned the place. She wore a bright sweater and a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Her hair was perfect. Her earrings sparkled. She looked like someone going to lunch, not someone who had put down a family dog 5 days ago. Then her eyes dropped to Scout. Her smile broke. For 1 second her face showed something real, something ugly, like anger and panic mixed together. Ruth, she said slowly, why is that dog here? My mouth went dry, I forced my voice to work, because he's alive. Linda blinked fast, that's impossible. Scout stepped in front of me, low and protective. Linda's gaze moved to the hole, to the torn bag, to the corner of the folder in my hand. Her eyes narrowed. What are you doing? I stood, my knees weak, clutching the folder to my chest like it was a baby. I should ask you that, I said, and my voice surprised me. It was steadier than I felt. Why is my husband's folder buried in your garden? Linda laughed once sharp. You're confused, grief does that. No, I said, you do that. Her eyes flashed. Ruth, put that down. I took a step back. You told me Scout was put down. Linda's voice dropped into a warning. He was. Scout growled again, louder. Linda's hands curled into fists. Where did you get him? I stared at her. You tell me. Linda's nostrils flared. Then her face shifted and she tried a different mask, softer and sad. Ruth, she said gently, this is not good for you. Let me help you. Give me the folder. We can talk inside. I hugged it tighter. No. Linda's shoulders stiffened. You don't understand what you're doing. I understand this, I said, and my voice cracked with grief and anger. My husband warned me about you. He told me not to let you control me. Linda's eyes turned cold. James said a lot of strange things near the end. Stop, I snapped. Don't talk about him like that. She stepped closer. Ruth, be reasonable. Reasonable, I whispered, like letting you take my dog away. Linda's jaw tightened. That dog is a problem. Scout barked once. Linda flinched, then lifted her chin. Fine, you want the truth. I did what I had to do. My heart hammered. What does that mean? Linda's voice became low, like she was sharing a secret. James left things complicated. There are assets, accounts, papers. You don't know how any of it works. You would ruin everything. I stared at her. You mean you would lose control? She smiled thin. Call it what you want. I looked down at the folder and opened it right there, with dirt still on my fingers. Inside were copies of bank statements, a deed document, and a handwritten note. Linda's name was on transfers that James never told me about. Money had moved out of James's account and into an account connected to Linda. Also, there was a letter James had started, addressed to my Ruth. It said in simple words that Linda pressured him, that she wanted the house, that she used his illness to confuse him, that he feared she would try to erase anything that proved her wrongdoing. My eyes filled with tears, not just grief now but betrayal. Linda leaned in, trying to grab the folder. Scout lunged forward, not biting, but snapping the air close enough to stop her. Linda stumbled back, shocked. You see, she hissed, dangerous. No, I said, voice trembling. He's protecting me from you. Linda's face hardened. Ruth, you are an old woman alone. You can't fight me. I swallowed. Watch me. Linda pulled out her phone. I'm calling animal control. I'm calling the police. I will tell them that dog attacked me. I will tell them you're not stable. My stomach sank. You would lie like that. She lifted her brows. It won't be the first time. Then she turned and walked toward the gate like she was leaving. But as she walked, she glanced back and said something that made my blood go cold. And Ruth, she called, you should stop digging in that garden. Some things are better left buried. Then she left. I stood there shaking, Scout pressed against my leg. I knew two things. 1, Linda had buried more than papers. 2, she was going to come back with help, and she was going to try to take Scout and that folder again. I ran inside, locked every door, and called my neighbor, Mr. Harlan, the retired mailman who always waved at my grandkids. Please, I said, breathless, can you come over right now? What's wrong, Ruth? My dog is alive, I whispered, and my sister-in-law buried something in my backyard. There was a long pause. Then Mr. Harlan said, stay inside, I'm coming, and don't touch anything else. I looked out the window at the garden, at the broken bag, at the half-covered hole. Scout stared at it, whining softly. And I realized the scariest part. Scout wasn't done digging. He was trying to show me something else. Something Linda was terrified I would find. That night I didn't sleep. I sat at my kitchen table with the folder open, reading James's words again and again until they felt like they were burning into my skin. Scout lay at my feet awake, ears twitching at every sound. Mr. Harlan came over with his flashlight and his calm voice, but I could see worry in his face. Ruth, he said, this needs to be handled the right way. I nodded, I know. We called my daughter Angela. I told her everything slowly, clearly, repeating the important parts so she understood. Mom, Angela said, voice shaking, Linda said Scout was put down. I know. And Scout is there. Yes. And there's a buried folder. Yes. Angela inhaled hard. I'm coming over right now. By the time Angela arrived, it was late. She hugged me so tight I felt my breath leave my body. Then she looked at Scout and burst into tears. He's real, she whispered. He's really here. Scout licked her hand and leaned into her like he recognized family. We decided we would not dig more without authorities. If Linda buried something illegal, we needed proof that would stand up in court. Mr. Harlan explained that in simple words. Let the police see it the way you found it, he said. That keeps you safe. So we covered the hole lightly, just enough to protect it from the rain, and we kept the torn bag and folder inside. Angela made tea. I sipped it, but my hands still shook. Then, around 1:20 in the morning, Scout's head lifted fast. A sound came from outside. A soft crunch like shoes on gravel. Mr. Harlan clicked off the kitchen light. Someone's out there, he whispered. We moved to the window. Linda's car was parked down the street, lights off. Two shadowy figures moved toward my backyard, crouching low. Angela covered her mouth. Is that Linda? I couldn't see the face clearly, but I knew that walk. I knew that sharp, confident way of moving, like the world was hers. One figure hopped the fence. The other stayed near the gate. They had shovels. My heart raced so hard it hurt. They're going to dig, I whispered. Scout growled deep and steady. Mr. Harlan held up a hand. Call the police right now. Angela grabbed her phone. Her fingers shook as she spoke to the dispatcher. I watched through the window as the figure in the yard went straight to the garden and started digging like a thief in the night. My knees went weak. She's trying to take it back, I breathed. But then something happened that made my skin prickle. The figure didn't just dig where Scout had dug. They dug a little farther to the left, like they knew exactly where to go. Like Scout's hole was only the beginning. The shovel hit something hard. The figure paused, then dug faster. And then they pulled up a second bag, heavier, bigger. Linda's voice hissed, quiet but fierce, hurry. Angela whispered, Mom, what is that? My throat closed, I couldn't answer. The backyard figure dragged the bag toward the fence. Mr. Harlan whispered, that's evidence whatever it is. Then Scout did something I will never forget. He bolted to the back door and started barking, loud and wild, barking like a siren. The figure froze. Linda cursed under her breath. I clapped my hand over Scout's muzzle, trying to quiet him, but Scout pulled away and barked again, louder. The backyard figure dropped the bag and ran. Linda turned and sprinted to the car. Headlights flashed on, bright as day. The car peeled away, tires squealing. A minute later, we heard another sound. Police sirens growing closer. I opened the door just enough to speak when the officers arrived. Mr. Harlan explained everything clearly. Angela handed over the folder and the torn bag. One officer took notes. The other walked to the garden with a flashlight. They uncovered the spot where the thieves had tried to dig. They found the second bag still half out of the soil. The officer looked back at us, face serious. Ma'am, he said, we need you to stay inside. This is now an investigation. My stomach churned. What is it? The officer didn't answer right away. He just said, you did the right thing calling. Then he added something that made my blood run cold. We also need to locate your sister-in-law, tonight. Because whatever was in that bag wasn't just family drama. It was something big enough that Linda was willing to break into my yard in the middle of the night to steal it. By morning the truth came out, and it hit like a wave. The police carefully opened the second bag. Inside was not something gruesome, and I am thankful for that, but it was still shocking. It was a metal lockbox. And inside that lockbox were documents, cash bundles, and a small flash drive. The papers were about money, but not normal money. They were records of Linda using James's name to move funds from an account James once used for a small side business. Years ago, James helped run a community loan group with a few friends. It was legal back then, and it helped people. But when James got sick, Linda offered to handle the paperwork. Instead, she used his illness to steal. She created fake invoices. She signed things James didn't understand in his weak state. She transferred money into accounts she controlled. When James began to suspect, he tried to gather proof. That was the folder he hid. That was the lockbox he likely hid too, somewhere he thought Linda would never look. But Linda did look. She built the garden on top of it. The flash drive held scanned copies, emails and messages. It showed Linda speaking with two men about moving the last part before Ruth notices. And now I understood why Scout mattered. James didn't just give me Scout for comfort. He gave Scout to protect me and to help me find the truth if James couldn't. How did Scout survive? That part was cruel in a different way. Linda did take Scout to the vet. She did sign papers, but she did not choose the real clinic James used. She went to a cheap place across town, and when the vet tech stepped away, Linda panicked. Scout barked, Scout pulled, Scout scratched her arm trying to escape. Linda told them he's aggressive. They wanted to sedate him before doing anything. Linda didn't want a record. She didn't want questions. She didn't want a real report that could connect her to Scout if things went bad later. So she left. She told me Scout was put down because she believed I would believe her. She believed I was too broken to check. Then she handed Scout off to one of the men she had been working with, telling him to get rid of the dog. But Scout was smarter than she thought. He escaped. He ran. He followed the smell of home. And when he got back, he didn't come for food first. He didn't come for warmth first. He went to the gardens. Because Scout had watched Linda build it. Scout had watched her press the soil down hard. Scout had seen her check that spot again and again. Scout knew something important was buried there. When the police brought Linda in for questioning, she tried to act calm. She tried to cry. She tried to say I was confused and lonely. But the evidence was clear. The transfers had her signature. The emails were from her account. The flash drive contained messages that matched her phone. She blamed James at first. She said he told her to do it. But James's letter, plus the timeline, plus the bank history showed the truth. Linda's motive was simple, and it was ugly. She wanted money. She wanted the house. She wanted to control everything James left behind, and she thought a grieving grandma would be easy to push around. And that night when she came with shovels, it wasn't because she cared about me. It was because she cared about what she buried. The consequences were also clear. Linda was charged with theft and fraud, and the two men who helped her were charged too because they tried to break in and remove evidence. A court froze the accounts connected to the stolen money. Some of it was recovered. Some of it was already spent, but the court ordered repayment through assets Linda owned. Angela stayed with me for a while. The grandkids came over more often, and their laughter slowly returned warmth to my home. And Scout became the center of our family in the best way. We took him to our real vet, we got him checked, we got him chipped with my name, we gave him a new collar that said Scout Home Safe. One afternoon, a few weeks after everything, I sat in the backyard with Scout beside me. The garden was no longer Linda's garden. It was just my yard again. We replaced the stones, planted fresh flowers, and made it a place for peace, not secrets. I held James's letter in my hands, reading the last line over and over. Trust your INSTNCTS, trust Scout, and don't stay silent. I thought about how close I came to staying quiet. I thought about how grief made me soft, and how Linda tried to use that softness like a weapon. Then I looked down at Scout, and he looked back at me with those steady eyes. I'm sorry, I whispered. I should have fought sooner. Scout leaned his head into my knee, warm and forgiving. And that was the lesson that stayed with me, not as a speech, not as a lecture, but as a quiet truth that settled in my bones. When something feels wrong, it usually is. When someone tries to rush you, control you, or silence you, you should pay attention. And when you are scared, you don't have to be brave all at once. You just have to take one clear step, tell one honest person, and refuse to let fear make your choices. Because silence is where bad people grow bold. But truth, even spoken by a trembling grandma with dirt on her hands, can still win. In the end, my late husband's last gift wasn't only a dog. It was a warning, a protector, and a second chance to stand up for myself. And every time Scout runs in the yard, tail high, paws clean, I feel something I thought I lost forever. Not just safety, not just justice, but the steady, gentle feeling that I am still here, I am still loved, and I will never let anyone bury the truth in my life again.